Hiya everyone, welcome back to Gosforth Handyman. We've got some really exciting news for you today. And what you need to do before I say anything else is make sure you're subscribed to Peter Millard from 10minuteworkshop.tv. I'll try and include a card link to his channel as well. Make sure you're following him because me and Peter are starting a podcast together. And the podcast is all about commercial joinery, so running a small commercial joinery business. Me and Peter both run kind of your one-man, smaller boutique kind of joinery business. He's in the south of England, well, in London. I'm in the north of England, in Newcastle, so it'll be interesting to get a bit of a kind of perspective of how things are run from both ends of the country. But we're going to be doing it very much from a commercial standpoint of running an actual functioning joinery or carpentry business. Obviously fairly UK centric, but I think there'll be a lot in it that will be quite entertaining for you no matter where you are in the world, because we're going to be talking about things like jobs that we're working on, problem situations that you run into. There'll be a little bit of like tool talk, tech stuff, you know, all your sort of stuff that you run into trying to make money from making stuff out of wood, because that's what me and Peter do. So the podcast goes live today. So if you search for measuringuppodcast.com, or if you just search for Measuring Up Podcast, because it's literally gone live today, it might take a few days before it starts to kind of replicate around the internet and appear on iTunes and stuff like that. It can take a little while for it to appear on various different platforms, but it is live from now. If you go to measuringuppodcast.com, you'll find the hopefully first 3 episodes on there. But equally, you should be able to just go onto your podcast player and search for it on there. So just Measuring Up Podcast. It's a joinery-focused, commercial joinery-focused podcast. We're going to be getting special guests on there from established joinery businesses, both from the UK and possibly outside the UK as well. So there's loads and loads of stuff that we've got planned. It's going to run fortnightly. It's going to run every 2 weeks. So first one today, next one 2 weeks after. And it's going to be running in seasons of, I think 10 episodes per season is the plan. So search for measuringuppodcast.com, subscribe to it. I think there's a thing on Patreon. We're on Twitter, Measuring Up PC on Twitter. Can't remember. I'll include a link in the description. But measuringuppodcast.com is the main web link. You'll find everything from there that you need. As I say, if you're not already subscribed to Peter's channel, make sure you do subscribe to his channel. It's a fantastic channel of joinery tips and just bits of information about the sort of work that he does. So get yourself subscribed to Peter Millard at 10minuteworkshop.tv, and we'll catch up with you on the podcast. We'll probably give the odd update on our YouTube channels of how things are going on the podcast, but we will be taking feedback on the podcasts directly as well. Exciting times. We're both so excited about this. Can you tell? Go and have a listen, see what you think, hit subscribe, listen to us every 2 weeks. And separate to our own individual Patreons, you can support the podcast on Patreon as well. So if you do enjoy it, it would help us with some of the running costs, because obviously we've got like hosting fees and all the associated costs of running a podcast. It's not cheap to set up a podcast. Any help that you can give on that side of things would be greatly appreciated, just so we're not kind of out of pocket with it. I would suggest you listen to the episodes first, because you might think it's rubbish. But just go to patreon.com/measuringuppodcast and you should find us on there if you do want to support us through that as well. Thank you for your awesome support. You're a bunch of amazing, amazing people. And you know, any topics that you'd like us to discuss on the podcast, we've already got a huge list of things that we want to go into, but if there's anything specific you'd like us to cover, as I say, mainly from a business, operational, kind of, you know, making money from woodworking perspective. If there is stuff that you would like us to cover, pop it in the comments below and we'll try and add it on to the topic discussion whiteboard so we can work out what we're going to be chatting about going forwards. But we have got loads of stuff already lined up that we're going to be chatting to you about. The first episode, just to give you a bit of heads up, first episode is a little bit of background about me and Peter and how we got into the world of joinery. Second episode, we're going into a little bit about winning business and how we kind of got up and running in terms of to the point now where we don't really have to advertise anymore, and you know, just best practices for actually setting up a joinery business from our perspective. Third episode, I think off the top of my head, we're going into kind of managing a small workshop and surviving in a small space. Me and Peter are both in very small workshops. And then we've got a whole load of other topics that we're going to go into. So get yourself on there. Measuring Up Podcast. Totally mad. Got a podcast. How mad? It's nuts.